Hello everybody, this is my Module 5 analysis. So prior to this module, I had not really known about the specific checkpoints the Universal Design for Learning had. And as a special education teacher, these are some of the guidelines that I tried to incorporate into my classroom on a regular basis. So the first resource that I utilize and chose to evaluate is BrainPop Junior. So the core part of this is a video, and the video is short, has a lot of visuals, and it really hits recruiting interest as well as language and symbols. There are captions provided for each video. So as it goes through, they kind of just discuss that. So I'll show to start it. So as you can see, it also goes through a lot of vocabulary and gives definitions and kind of keeps the topic over here on the side, and then goes through what is going on, and then the captions are at the bottom as we also hear them talk as well. And then another aspect of this that I usually will incorporate is a quiz. Oop, too far. So students are able to take a quiz, and I can assign either an easy quiz or a difficult quiz, and as you can see, as you hover over it, it will read it to you. So I can have the questions read as well as the answers, and then choose the correct answer, and students have the ability to then hear what they're going through. So this is really great for diverse learners and for your higher students and some of your lower students. And I definitely think this really hits self-regulation, comprehension, and sustaining effort and perception. There are also some additional features that you can add to kind of give students a little bit of fun while they're completing this. So one is the draw about it. So for the draw about it or write about it, students are given a word bank that can be read to them, as well as a prompt that is read aloud, and they are able to use the words from the word bank to help them remember the movie, as well as allow them to know spelling and give them hints as to what might be helpful to include in their writing. This is also a feature in the Draw About It section as well, so I'll show you what this looks like. So they're able to cover and listen to what they're supposed to do. Once they start, it gives them options, some already drawn pictures. They can include shapes, lots of different things, and it's always there at the top for them to remember what they were doing. The write about it is very similar, but there's also a word bank here that they're able to use, and it just really helps students to have that extra assistance. So I really like to utilize more of the draw about it instead of the write about it. Depending on the target for the lesson, I will try to do some writing and some drawing, but I personally prefer the draw about it because it gives students a chance to be creative, not worry about their spelling, and they're able to verbally tell me about what they drew. It also allows me to probe a little bit more at their thought process because it turns into more of a conversation instead of them writing out their thoughts and then getting frustrated because I ask for clarifications, or they start to think that they answered the prompt and then don't want to answer any additional questions. But the draw about it really allows for them to kind of give me a deeper understanding of what they are able to comprehend. And BrainPop definitely hits all three of the guidelines for engagement, representation, and action and expression. The second source that I chose to evaluate is Seesaw. So Seesaw has many ways that you can differentiate instruction for diverse learners, as well as making activities more accessible. There is a space for you to write your instructions, which is very helpful because you can write your instructions. You can also record your voice to allow students to hear what the directions are. I can show quickly. So you can give the activity the name, type the instructions, add some voice instructions here. You can also add multimedia instructions or an example. And then when you add your template, you're able to put in a photo, you can make a drawing, you could create a video, link this to something else, put in a little note for students, or upload a Word document, a PDF, lots of different things that you might have already created or find online and allow students to use that. So I'll just give a quick example of one of my activities that we will be working on. Oh, it's going to take a little bit. So here is an example. I took a worksheet that I had found online, downloaded it, and uploaded it to Seesaw. So if I wanted to give students some extra directions, I could use a text box, I could record my voice and have a little button here for them to play and listen, and I can also draw on the screen while I'm recording. So if I wanted to give them an example, I could use question 1 as an example, explain and show how they would solve the problem, and then even walk them through it. So this is a great resource and an awesome tool to use for those students that might be struggling a little bit or need a little bit extra help, or if you're using small groups, this would be a great way to kind of pre-plan ahead of time and really help with that with your students. This really allows for a greater sense of perception. Seesaw also allows for students to communicate their learning in different ways, so they are able to utilize this, and they could draw with it, they could use the text box, and they could put the answer in the text box and pull that over. They can also use, with our class, they have iPads, so they can also use the talk to text tool. So if they didn't want to look for the 6, didn't want to type it out, wanted to use the word, they could press the talk to text and say the number 6, and then that would show up on here as well. I had a student that was not completing work, and this student has a speech impediment and is not very good at spelling. He was not able to use the talk to text tool effectively, so I allowed him to use emojis to share his work with me when possible. And this gave me a decent understanding of what he is comprehending in our content and what he needs help with. I do require that students share with me what they put if they draw or use emojis, so it gives me a chance to communicate with them, make sure they understand what they're doing, and gives them a chance to really explain themselves a little further. Another aspect of Seesaw that I really like is that I'm able to give immediate feedback to students, leaving a comment, and it shows them that their assignment was approved, as well as that I left a comment, or I'm able to send it back to them if it's incorrect for them to fix. A lot of the times I will use just verbal back and forth with students to correct something. So if I would have seen that a student did 4 divided by 16 equals 4, I put this comment here at the bottom, but I also discussed this with the student, and they verbally switched it for me and were able to explain why the 16 would go first. So this was a great way for me to give this quick feedback to the student, and I can also show them that they need to fix that by sending it back to them. So when I click the review button, it gives me an option to either approve, send back, or delete. So if it is inappropriate, I can always press the delete button. If it's just something they need to fix quickly, I can press the send back. And if they did a good job, I can approve it. So down here, I can press the like it, comment, leave some text with it, and these are just some different ways for me to organize this as well. You can also leave recorded comments so that students, if they are too low at reading, can hear what it says and they can play it back for themselves. I really love how Seesaw allows for a lot of expression and communication for students. It really makes it a lot easier for them to utilize this. So Chapter 8 really discussed how we can make sure we are meeting the needs of special education students. And since all of my students have accommodations and modifications, Seesaw really allows for me to meet these specific needs through the different ways that I can utilize their features. I just really like that there are so many ways for me to give feedback, to use auditory, visual, to use text for them to read. So I can just really meet the needs of all of my students using this resource. I hope this was helpful and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much.